That's what drove me for so much of my life, is that desire to help others. I remember this point in my life where I was just like, oh my gosh, I am the most important project. I had all these projects, the Healing Forum and my work and this, and I was running meditations by donation. I was doing this and I was getting this community up and running. I was doing all these things to help and inspire people. And then all of a sudden it was like, ding dong. Hello, message coming through. You're actually the most important person and most important project to universal love. Start taking care of yourself, sweetheart. Because once we have a full cup, then of course the joy is in serving in the world.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a doctor goes through burnout? How do they recover or treat themselves? Plus, how do we as mums give love from a place of fullness and power? And when we're stressed, how do we change our mindset to one of, I've got this, and peace? Today, I am honoured to share a beautiful conversation with Dr. Fiona Enkelmann. But before we do, if you haven't yet joined our Happiness Club, please do so. The link is in the show notes. Come join us as we share, connect, and support each other through life. So Dr. Fee is a former medical doctor of over 15 years, turned transformation coach and healer who has supported hundreds of women to overcome burnout, reconnect with themselves, and to embrace their bliss. She is the founder of Bliss Sisterhood, a place to call home for women daring to be great, knowing that this starts with pouring love into themselves first. So if you've ever wanted to get the full holistic picture of how to move from a place of burnout and lack to joy and fullness, then this is the conversation for you. We explore the science behind our emotional needs and how shifting our mindset and emotions can lead to lasting changes that lead to more joy. Dr. Fee is living her bliss, following a bhakti path, which is one of love, devotion and surrender, and inspiring women to embrace quantum leaps in their health, love, career and life. So let's jump right in, shall we? Hi, Dr. Fee, how are you?
I am feeling so happy. I'm very, very grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, what a joy to have you here. So just so that our listeners know, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Fee, or Dr. Fee, as a client years ago, 5 years ago or so. And I was lucky enough to witness the gifts, the wondrous gifts that she has as a healer and a wise woman, and the strength, love and compassion that she has is truly, truly outstanding. So thank you from me, and thank you for being here as well, because I know that the listeners are going to get a lot from you today, so thank you.
Oh, it's so good to be here. We've just spent a few minutes, haven't we, just reconnecting. It's like, oh my gosh, soul sisters coming together, like, this is so good, how are you, oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's so lovely reconnecting, and thank you for your words.
It certainly is. So let's get a little bit of an introduction to who you are and what you do. I think that's a great place to start.
I am Dr. Fee. I'm a former medical doctor, but I guess really right now in this phase or this chapter of my life, I'm someone who is a healer and a transformation coach, and I just love to love. I love helping women to truly normalize pouring love into themselves, what that means in terms of a real state of fullness, a heart full, so that they can really be more, give more and just shine their light more. Because, as a mum, we all know our children feel us, right? They're plugged into us, and our relationships, how we feel really influences the joy, the connection, the intimacy that we get, and the joy, the pleasure we have in life. And then also really as we do this process of really reconnecting to ourselves, living life in a way that we are, just like, who am I? What do I want? What do I need? How do I give myself what I need? We become unstoppable. And that to me is the path to having this ever expanding blissful life. And so in terms of who I am, I'm someone who's taken many, many leaps in my life, because I do embody what I teach, and there's times where I get caught up in the duality of life and lose myself along the way, which is always the perfect classroom that brings me back into the truth of who I am and my own personal power, and this beautiful grace that I have, that as I do it, I get to inspire women to do the same. And so, you know, when we get that calling of more, when we reconnect to ourselves, it's like this sense of, wow, there's more for me. And then we can give ourselves permission to do that as big-hearted, ambitious, driven women. Sometimes there's leaps that have to happen, you know, and we have to let go of old roles and old definitions and old ways of doing things. So as you said, you know, I was formerly a medical doctor. Now I'm a transformation coach for women, helping women out of burnout and reconnecting with themselves and living a life that they truly, truly love. So, you know, that's the chapter that I'm in at the moment, and it's just constantly, you know, evolving and growing, because that's the work.
Yeah, it's all so remarkable. What an honour for you to be able to be of service in such a beautiful way and in such a huge way. But also what an honour that we get to work with you and have you in all of those different capacities, you know?
Well, I think this is the beautiful truth. Like, what is good for me is good for you, is good for all of us. And so there is immense grace. Like, I pinch myself going, my gosh, I get to do this for work. I get to connect with the most beautiful women who have just lost a sense of themselves, and to really support them in leading themselves through that, to discover what's on the other side. And, you know, therefore together we're walking each other home. That's the definition of it. And to be able to just recognize this is not about, you know, being positive and, you know, rah-rah and like, oh, like get out there and drive and feel the fear and do it. That's the wrong energy. That's a masculine energy. This is about us tapping into our truest power, the feminine. And it's not about, you know, what we stereotype as being feminine. It's more about this essence first, which is, how do you experience that if you're checked out of life, disconnected from yourself? So it's such a joy to support women to do it, because then all the time I'm being inspired. I'm seeking the evidence. I find the evidence. The way I got here was because in medicine, as a doctor, helping my patients, my clients, to prove the impossible as being possible with their healing, their health, when they've been told nothing else can be done. You're going to have to put up with this. You've been in chronic fatigue for 20 years now. You know, this is it. Or this issue, and that's it. This diagnosis, you just have to take medications. There's nothing else. And seeing people and helping people to go beyond the mind, go beyond possibility, to really embrace more is, you know, there's selfish reasons in this, because it's like the evidence comes back and I'm thirsty for it. It's delicious to watch women in their power. It's delicious to see people aspiring to do great things and really doing that for themselves. Again, what's good for me is good for you, is good for us. Yeah.
So how keeps coming up, how do we do this? How do we get ourselves to love ourselves more? And we've got so much on, and being a mum can be challenging at best, not to mention add in the work and add in the expectations and rah. How do you achieve this? Like, how are you show us, give us the secrets.
Give it to me. I think the key has to be simplicity, because we have, like, I want to have a full life, and I want a life. One of my most important values is freedom. The way that I used to experience freedom and the seriousness of life is head down, drive, and then book a holiday and check out of life. That's how I got that feel.
And then get sick on holiday because you
burned yourself out, and then it's like Monday-eyed is all a whole week of like, oh my God, I got to go back and to do life, you know. And so it's like constantly trying to escape life. So we mostly desire, like, we have these things, contentment and fulfillment and freedom and love. Like, that's what we're seeking. We think it's in the thing, in the position, in the house, in the marriage, in all the things, but, you know, really, it's within us. And so if we, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful, and this is often what a lot of my clients face, is this thinking like, I feel so dreadful. So the solution has to be something really big and groundbreaking and freaking complicated. And while I'm all up for challenges and time management and whatever, all those other things, it's just not the solution, is it? Because most women have tried all of that and realize it's not sustainable. So it's got to be something that is simple, long, like sustainable, that creates long-lasting changes. And it has to be on a level that gets us thinking, feeling, being, and doing differently in life. If we really understand why it is that we get in a survival mode, okay, because that's pretty much what more than 60% of women and people are feeling in the world at the moment based on some research that comes in. It's just like, wow, the baseline for our society is a survival state, okay? That's what we're up against, what's becoming normal. And so when you understand it's not about the events, the stressful events that's happening, but how we perceive stress that gets a little wonky. And what influences that is how we think and feel about something. So like, quite simply, you and I could be faced with an event like a redundancy. Okay, it's the same event. We've got this news of redundancy, but how I see it and the meaning I give it creates an event, transforms it to now an experience. And for you, it might be like, oh my gosh, this is the once in a lifetime opportunity. This is fantastic. Now I can do the thing I want to do. But for me or someone else, it wouldn't be me, but someone else would be like, oh my God, this is it. I'm never going to recover. I don't have the confidence. And it can take years to get your mojo back. You understand what makes the difference? How we think, how we feel, how we be. And being is more of an energy, a concept, a conversation that goes beyond the mind, and it's about energy. So how I approach this as a mum, working, running a business, managing clients, being spiritual communities, having trips and retreats to India, all the things, okay, is that it has to be this consistent, I call them rhythms. What we do for ourselves in the morning and the night, simple things that we do consistently has a profound impact. And it has to be, it's not about like, when I say pouring love into ourselves, often women were like, oh yeah, fantastic, let me go out with my girlfriends and I'll get my nails done and let me book a massage and let me get a personal trainer and let me do the things. That often just adds to your to-do list. And it can compound the issue because we then start like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, I got more to do. Does that make sense, Nicole? Like I got more, and so we sabotage ourselves, yeah?
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And then it also adds to the financial burden because now I've got to pay for a massage, you know?
Yeah, and it really compounds because inevitably, if we don't actually meet ourselves emotionally, we end up sabotaging. Like we are smart, intelligent women. And have you noticed that often we'll get in our own way, even though we know something's good for ourselves? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so the answer isn't to do more. The answer isn't to find the thing. The answer is to really reconnect and discover. And we can have a chat about emotional needs if that's where the conversation goes. But to really rediscover, who am I? What do I need? So that I can give that to myself, because needs are needs, they're non-negotiable. They are what drive our behavior. They're what supports how we perceive life. So if we can give it to ourselves in a really healthy, meaningful way, then all that people pleasing, all that external validation, all that perfectionism, all that procrastination, all that sabotage, let me trip myself up, I need to go to the gym, but in fact I'm going to sit and watch this Netflix series, and oh my God, I'm just going to get in the pantry and just munch on, what am I eating? I've just eaten a fog eating, 2 packets of Tim Tams. It's like, that melts away. We don't have to fix ourselves, we get to give to ourselves in a more meaningful way. So simplicity, simple things we do, every day has a profound effect, but we have to go at a level that's often beyond the mind. Working with the mind is important, but really doing things for ourselves to reconnect with the with the power of our heart. It's not woo. This is real. There's a real scientific basis to this. And also to really support how do we feel, like our essence and our ability just to relax. And so that is about getting ourselves out of that survival mode so we can be in that space. Yeah.
So I love all this. I love everything you're saying. And I find myself just sitting here. I forget that I'm actually interviewing. I'm just listening to you. I'm just kind of like this with my mouth open.
Breathe it in. It feels so good, right?
So I'm like, okay, brain, come on, ask the questions now. so
I'm happy. We could just do some meditation. Come on.
So you said this isn't woo, and this is the science. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you've come from a very science world and a very science background. And I know that there are lots of people in this world that they don't merge. It doesn't merge for them. They're either that or they're that, and it doesn't merge. And there's lots who it does that happen for. But I'm just curious, how do you integrate the two? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think, look, it's so important, and I think it's important for a lot of people because we have very strong rational minds, and that's just the way we're very good at thinking things through and evaluating. In fact, we want a future suffer often. Let me think about all the things that could go wrong. So our mind's very strong. And it's just this beautiful element to understand that there is, for some things, not all of them, some things there's a basis to it. And that helps if we can understand why we do something and the importance of what I'm sharing. So if you're my client and I say to you, well, there's a basis for this, and this is actually going to create long-term brain changes, like really change your brain. And this is actually tapping into what we know about neuroplasticity. And, this is about the whole epigenetics. Epigenetics is what can actually turn genes on, switch genes off, and actually have a profound physiological effect and promote healing or not, then you're more likely to engage in the experiential part. The thing coming back to needs, oh my gosh. So one of our primary needs is certainty. So comfort and certainty is a basic human emotional need. We need to feel safe, comfortable, and assured that what is going to happen is going to be okay for me. And this is, if we don't meet this in a healthy way, this is where we find ourselves feeling really stuck, because we kind of want to have a crystal ball. We put our certainty in that thing or that person. We have a need. It's going to be filled some way. It's either going to be filled healthy, resourceful, kind ways, or unhealthy, unresourceful, unkind ways. You get what I'm saying? So often when we're like, oh, I don't know if I can take that leap. I don't know if I can do this for myself. Is this really working? Is it really worth my time getting up and doing this work and meditation and all the things and all the stuff that Dr. Fee's work talking about? Is it actually going to work for me? What's not happening here is that we're not giving ourselves, we don't know how to give ourselves the need, non-negotiable, in a healthy way to help ourselves to feel comfortable and certain. Okay. So if we give it to other people and other people don't show up in our life, boom, we've just risked our entire power. If we say it's the program or the thing or the job or the holiday or the divorce that's going to make me feel better and it doesn't, boom, we've lost all trust and confidence in life. We just get so stuck and we get paralyzed, because this is the thing, change is so freaking unpredictable. Change is full of uncertainty. Change is chaotic. You know what I mean? Like, hello motherhood, hello new job, hello saying yes, I want more. But we have to change. And so if we don't know how to give ourselves what we need, which is certainty, and this is the key, it's about who I am and tapping into that so that we have this unstoppable grace in our life moving forward, meaning I know who I am and I can be my greatest cheerleader and advocate, and I can hold all the things and I can change because I know where to focus on. So science helps us when we can learn about all the things, it gives us a sense of, oh, there's some proof in this. Oh, there's some understanding. Oh, it makes logical sense. But don't just stop with that, because it's freaking limited and it's a lot of bias and there's a lot of wonky energy and discordant energy in that. But we can take principles, and often, we forgot about principles in medicine. I think, we're becoming more and more narrow focused and focused on prescription and pharmaceutical in a lot of areas. Good doctors focus on principles, which is, around the whole, like looking at, if we're talking about stress and chronic illness and like all of our hormones talk together. So we can't just look at things in isolation, can we? And so that because that's obviously the work that I was doing earlier as an integrative doctor that's led me to this. So science helps, but really where the greatest change happens is when we go beyond the mind. So we use this to open the doorway, and then concepts around healing, concepts around transformation, this how I get to think, feel, do, be differently in life. It is this embodiment, experiential. You got to get in there. This is about wisdom. And you cannot cultivate wisdom for yourself if you're not applying it and living and having learnt experience. And so I think for me, if I was to define a spiritual path, that's probably what it is. Coming back to yourself, coming back into this wisdom of which we have this human experience for that. So you can see how I weave science, and I always end up to this spirituality, because it's like, open the doorway, don't stop there, sister, go further. And hello, this is why we're facing the challenges that we are, to bring us back to this beautiful experience of who am I, what is this all about, and wisdom, cultivating wisdom.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, the idea of spiritual path or spirituality being really about coming back to our spirit. That to me is so beautiful, and I think that gets lost on a lot of people because they hear the word spirituality and what, religion? You're going to tell me to read the Bible? And then shut down, doors closed, not willing to look at myself. But the two are actually very, very different. They're not the same thing, are they?
Well, I mean, and like this is the thing, and I get that because prior to my burnout, the way that I got here was this most unexpected spiritual awakening. I wasn't looking for it, but I was looking for it. And prior to that, I mean, I was a conventional doctor. So I get this, and I'd lost that sense of myself, because earlier on in my childhood, teens, 20s, there was an openness to something more. But the G word, oh my God, don't you talk to me about the G word. It was like, no. And so as a doctor, spirit came in the form of gin and gin and tonics, living up in Darwin. So, I completely get it. But this is the thing. You'll either experience it like I have a taste of it, where you actually, because we're talking about something that it's not logical. This is an experiential. Spirituality is an experiential process. It's the love and devotion and joy and connectedness to this power within you. It's something that is just wow. You either have a taste of it and then you go, oh, I like that, I want more. Or you experience the duality, the contrast of that in life, which is like the stick in life, the disease, the divorce, the disaster, the despair, the disconnection. So people can, I don't have a desire to, in my world, I have people who are just so open, so connected to spirituality. At the start, perhaps different, but where I am right now, I don't need to convince people about spirituality. It's not, I have so much compassion because I've been there. It's just it's a choice. The choice to not be on a spiritual path is disconnection. That's the contrast. And it's either you're going to put up with it, push it down like I did for many years, queen of denial. And it's either you're going to have the grace to be like, oh, I got to do something about it, or you just stay pushing on until your day's up. And that's karma, that's grace, that's what has to happen. My job is as who I am, and in this position of Dr. Fee and leading a Bliss Sisterhood, is this beautiful thing of like, if you feel lit up, you want to experience more, then it'd be crazy not to tap into who you are, your power. Like, oh my gosh, it's there. We've just got to tune into it.
So for those who are curious about how they get to know themselves better and that, spirituality that you speak of and learning to tap into that, is this like a full-time job? Like, does it become something that do I have to sit in meditation pose 24/7? What's the structure around that? And then does that get easier as well?
Yeah, I think obviously it's coming back to aligning with what we want in life. And for some, it will look one way, and for others, it will look another way. And myself and the women who are in my world, we have a full life, and we want, often the way that we've got to a point of survival is because we give. I've got a big heart. I love to love. Let me give. And so, we realize that we want a full life, but we want to be in a position where we can actually enjoy it. And to have the capacity to say yes, and to have the capacity to be so present so that we enjoy the moment as it unfolds. Like right now, in this very moment, how beautiful is it? It's been so beautiful connecting with you. I haven't thought about being anywhere else. This is the moment, and it's so rich and beautiful. And life gets to be like that. Having a profound life isn't in the thing, the promotion. I mean, a lot of my clients who have got to me have done all the things, sold their business or gone part-time or left their career or got to the top, like the top position CEO in their company, and then looked around and felt so incredibly lonely. So when we realize that that's not wrong, to have all these things in our life is wonderful. We get to have a really full life the way that we want. And so therefore, it is how we be in each moment to support us to be present, because actually being present is very, very, that's how we tap into this power. The sense of what is beyond the mind, the truest power, that part of us that is the infinite intelligence, the witness to this moment. Because right now, as your listeners are tuning in and as you're listening to me, your mind is like, oh, I like what Dr. Fee says, or I don't like what she says. And oh, look at her earrings, aren't they amazing? And oh my God, I can't believe she wore white to this. Where's the color? Like the mind just does what the mind says. It's this commentator. But there's something in there that's watching it and noticing it and has already received my words, already feels the truth, already feels moved, and it's just the mind gets in the way with that. So how the journey looks at is that you only end up, say for instance in my world, because of this sense of wanting more. You want to be lit up, you want to experience that, like just cherish those moments when you look at your little, like for me, I have Remy, he's 7 and he has this big, beautiful smile. And I just, oh my gosh, like we are so lucky as mums to have this. If you're going to talk about a hack, how to make life good, we have it available for us, because there's nothing better than love, but we got to give ourselves permission to receive it. Like I can just right now tap into this moment with my little boy, Remy, before he went to school this morning, and looking at him and he's beaming up at me, and I'm like looking at him like last day of year 1, and we're just having this beautiful moment where you can feel your heart just full of love. I mean, is there any better medicine? No. And so we have this, but we just, little bit by little bit, we start to wake up to the nature of our mind. Our mind is often what gets in the way of that experience. Oh, quick, we've got to get to school. Oh my God, we're going to be late. What will the teacher think? What will the people think? God, what does my hair look like? Oh, come on, guys, come on. Like, it's our mind that is actually disturbing a lot. And it's not to discount the reality of life. I get it. There's moments where I lose my peace. I completely get it. I'm so human. Don't worry. Don't put me on a pedestal at all. But the thing is, we lead ourselves through it because I want a profound life, which is this simple moment. So it starts, first of all, I think, waking up to the nature of your mind and how powerful our thoughts are. And this is what I call the burnout to bliss process. So this is what journey, it's a journey. It's not a personal, one of my clients the other day said is, I thought I was going to do a personal development class, but this is like a freaking full on journey. It is. So we wake up to the nature of our mind, which is, our thoughts. They can lift us up or they can bend us at the knee. And then we've got to move beyond that, which is really connecting to that emotional part of us, our feelings. And this is more powerful than any mindset work. And probably don't have time to go into it, but again, this is science. A thought can create a feeling, right? If you have a scary thought, how do you feel? Panic.
Tight.
Yeah, you feel scared. And then what happens is that feeling then creates a whole cascade of scary thoughts. So this is where people are like, I just have to think differently. I just got to tell myself I'm safe. But for a lot of people, unless that thought of I'm safe is powerful enough to shift how you feel, you're going to get caught in the vortex of this thought-feeling loop. And this is where people are like trying all the cognitive things to heal themselves, to have an amazing life. Like, I just got to think differently. I just have to come on. And they try and use willpower. But the power resides in our feelings and how we can actually shift our feeling state. So as you can see already, we're opening up this whole journey of like, oh, there's more that I can be done. So if your listeners are tuning in and we're like, I've tried all the things, I've done all the things. No, wait up. There's more, because how we feel like, life is going to happen. But if we can then realize it's how I pause for that moment or do some things for a few minutes here and there to lead myself through my life so that I do shift how I feel. Because if I go from a place of feeling anxious and then I know how to breathe with it and because if I allow myself to feel, and then once we've felt a feeling, it's a wave. It comes up, it comes up, it comes up, and then it just diminishes. And it's a process. It's something that I've had to learn and and work with, because the reason why we feel stressed out is because we don't want to feel the negative, okay? That's how we're conditioned. When we don't feel that, we feel differently. So if I feel differently, I'm going to have a different thought. So instead of like, oh my God, this is terrible, it's all going to be terrible, and you feel scared, you're going to feel differently. Then you're going to have different thoughts, which is, it's okay. I've got this. And so that is how we lead ourselves in life, because we're now thinking and feeling and doing and being. And it's not about avoiding stress. It's not about having to get somewhere with our spirituality. It's about who are we becoming as we realign and tap into who we are. And it's this beautiful discovery, and it's going to happen for the rest of my life. Like, as you said, how I look now and how I am now is very different to when you met me 5 years ago. Wait for 5 years time. Oh my gosh, wait 5 days time. 5 days. That'll be different. So I hope that answered your question. It was a long question. As you can tell, I like to teach. Sorry.
This is exactly why I wanted to talk to you. Exactly why, because you do have a lot to offer. And in actual fact, you answered a question I had written down that was about mindset and can we change mindsets? And I feel like you've kind of gone into that a little bit. And I would love to know, I feel like this is a good segue. Tell me about your programs and tell me about what it is that you go through. What's the process?
Yeah, so I was sharing this with you before, is that for me, like with this work, what is so exciting is that an ever-expanding blissful life does mean that you continue to grow and evolve, and it's over a lifetime, which is fantastic. So I've been in this beautiful process of letting go and making big decisions and having those big conversations. And when we clear things, we have space to receive more, which is very, very exciting. And so we're at this beautiful time. For me, it came to this question of what do I want to pour my love, my time, my energy, my focus into? And so we are in this beautiful stage of the Bliss Sisterhood. So I have a sisterhood, our community of people who work in close proximity with me. But this is something new where, for women who are they feel this, like they can feel this, but they want to come and feel a sense of trust. Like I remember right at the start of when I used to invest in a mentor, the first time, it was like, oh my God, the biggest decision. Now I'm working with mentors all the time, because it's this pouring love into myself, growing. And so, this is a place, the Bliss Sisterhood, it is each month we are focused on different facets of life, of transformation. And January is about unstoppable grace. So each month we're focused on really exploring, how it is that we, pour love into ourselves and what that means. And so that whole need around certainty and comfort that I was talking about before, that's the focus for us in January when we kick off, about looking at that. So there's training, but every month, again, because I like to weave this science and conversation and heart-to-heart transmission so that you walk away feeling changed, and like weaving that in with energy healing. So I do transformative sessions. So there's a component of felt sense, meaning what does it mean to actually feel my feelings, to experience that release, so that I, where there was something, and if you know what I mean, if you've been in a survival state, or if you're feeling depleted, or you feel a sense of resentment or shame, or just burnt out heaviness, you know what I mean, there's something there. Energy work or doing a transformative session with me is that experience of where there was something, there's now nothing. And so that's this beautiful weave of this community called the Bliss Sisterhood. So we have our community online, and we do that on Kajabi Communities, and a private podcast, because I think it's really important that we fill our lives with inspiration to support us to tap into what's important to us, because there's so much in our, like at school community or elsewhere where we get lost and we get, oh my gosh, you're right, maybe I should give and keep up with what that mum does or what that, you know what I mean? And we lose a sense of ourselves. So that's the Bliss Sisterhood. And, I've got a free training in December. I'm not sure when this is going to be published, whether it be published in time. But joining us in the Bliss Sisterhood, it's a membership. So it's $108 a month, and you can come, and there's all these free training that's a part of it that you can just come and binge on it like Netflix, but it's good because it changes you. And you can opt out at any time, but I really feel like you won't want to. Like this is just a really wonderful way to be. And from my perspective, this is how you get to know me, and you get to know what I'm about, and the work, what does energy work mean, and this is actually going to make a difference. You can see the results. And then we have my other containers, which are more in close proximity, called Expanding Bliss. And this has got that whole burnout to bliss process of it, where we more than mindset, heart, and then the real soul work, which is, I teach some amazing, this is about having a bliss toolbox, but the most, with these different tools, but the most important thing is about you knowing and discerning how to use it and when to use it, what you can do for yourself, because this is about you feeling empowered. People talk about empowerment, but truly empowerment is, who am I? What do I need? How do I give that to myself? And so that's where the Bliss Toolbox comes in, and that's Expanding Bliss. So yeah.
Sounds wonderful. I have these visuals of all these women walking around with these briefcases filled with all these tools and goodies.
Yeah.
To help them find themselves.
That's right. Or a doctor's bag is what I see. I come and put it as a doctor's bag because that's my thing. And it's instead of the medicine and all the tablets, you got, this tool, the Bliss Flip, and you've got the Liberate Yourself technique, and you've got the Moena method, all these other things. And you're like, oh yes, this is what I need. I need this right now.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. I think it's about time that we can go to a doctor and have some other options as well, because I know doctors are very busy. We often don't get that full holistic picture. So thank you. Now, one of the things that I like to bring the conversation back to is happiness. What is your definition of happiness? Or how do you think we achieve it? That's kind of a two in one.
I'm probably going to give a little different perspective to this, and it's really influenced by my beloved teacher, Sri Shakti Amma. I like to look at the difference between happiness and joy. And I think if we look at our emotional nature, happiness is on the spectrum. So, if you could think about those amazing colourful colouring in pencils that we used to have as kids, and we still have them here and in my house, is like yellow, and there's 5 different colours of yellow, and there's pinks, and there's 5 different colours of pinks and browns. That's our emotional nature, and one of them, of course, is happiness. Okay. And it's important to experience happiness. It's a normal, natural human experience. But often happiness is where we get what we want. I feel happy because I've got that thing. I feel happy because I asked for this and I was given this and this is what I want. That's happiness. And it's important. It's on the spectrum. And, you know, we can't have happiness if we don't experience the negatives of sadness and, you know, all the other, you know, the browns and the blacks and the greys down that end. Mm-hmm. So happiness is, I think, wonderful. But if we think about that's our emotional nature, something within us, which is what I was talking about, the witness, or there's immutable, blissful nature, what I call the blissful self. There's something within us which is peace and it's joy. It's never changing. It's just there. Like, it's like, even if you're having experience, and I've experienced this and clients of mine have experienced it, it's like something bad may have happened and you've lost someone or there's some grief. You can be in this space simultaneously of like strength and joy, enjoying the wholeness of life and appreciating the beauty of sadness and grief. And I know that might sound really crazy. I hear myself, my Fee of 10 years ago would be saying, oh my God, what has she been smoking? I get it. But joy is this essence that is there within you and I. And I know a lot of women who first come into my world is like, nah, I've lost joy in my life. And joy happens even if we're not getting the things we want. Joy is there, but sometimes the mind gets in the way and says, nah, you know, I like this, I don't like this, I want this, I don't want this, I got what I wanted. So that to me, so happiness is so valuable. Like, I really think that the way that we can experience joy is by doing things for others that make them happy. And when we see another person really happy, and we have been the source of their happiness through our love, through our words, even through our blessings, then that supports our own joy. And the reason is because of, if you look, this is a spiritual concept. It's about universal love. It's about the unified quantum field that is within me, that is within you. And so as I make you happy, you feel happy, and it tickles your soul, and your soul is connected to the oneness of all, which is what I'm connected to. And so this is how we spread happiness, but also cultivate joy in the world. So that might be a little different.
No, it's beautiful.
One is I feel more woven with the ego, and the other is more woven with a power, like a power, an energy and essence. Yeah.
It's not that different. I feel like there's similarities running through a lot of the people that we've brought on, and even in my own solo podcast, there's a real similarity threading through, which is beautiful. So not that different. Good. Which makes sense, because you're magnetizing all the same.
Do you know what I mean? This is the beautiful thing about doing this work, is that, you know, initially when you start out, I remember looking around in life and just being like, how do I now fit in? Like, after being a conventional doctor and having this experience of then saying, oh my gosh, like 2 days later, after having my first energy healing, 2 days later as a critical care doctor, making a decision that I'm going to leave critical care, become a GP and devote my life to understanding what the hell is energy medicine and this whole experience. What the hell was that? And I got to help people to experience that themselves. I mean, I looked around my life and like, how do you tell that to your friends? Like, how do you... Hey, by the way, I just had this spiritual experience and I can't understand it. So it's nice when you get to a point where you are resonating with other like-minded people, and it happens where it becomes more normal, you know, and that's the power of community and connection. Yeah. And that's why we follow our bliss, right? We've got to follow our bliss. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you're right. You want to share that as well. I mean, there is a big part of me that wants to keep understanding. I call myself an explorer of happiness, because for me, it's constantly exploring self and exploring, what is this? Why is this happening? But then beyond that, how do I then gift that and share that? Because, you know, you're right. It is, we are all part of the oneness. And I want to be able to just unbottle that happiness and share it and be like, hey, drink from this. Not that you know.
Oh, wouldn't that be good? You'd be making billions. You know, I love that so much. I think, like, I can feel the energy of that, of like that desire. That's what drove me for so much of my life, is that desire to help others, do you know? And I remember this point in my life where I was just like, oh my gosh, it was just this lightning bolt, like this, oh my gosh. And I was like, I am the most important project to God. Like, I had all these projects, the healing forum and my work and this, and I was running meditations by donation. I was doing this, and I was getting this community up and running. I was doing all these things to help and inspire people. And then all of a sudden it was like ding dong, like this dong. Hello, message coming through. You're actually the most important person and most important project to universal love. Start taking care of yourself, sweetheart. I was like, oh, and I had this like, ooh, like, am I about to levitate? Like, my energy, I was like, oh, and I realized, like, that's, you know, obviously what has helped this. We got to pour love into ourselves, and I love what you were saying. It feels like that thing, like this curiosity of how do I put myself first? Because once we have a full cup, then of course the joy is in serving in the world. That's what this is for. You're here, you're serving, Nicole. The people that you're touching with this podcast, they come, they get lit up. There's a ripple effect, you know, and it's so beautiful. You know, congratulations, it's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. It is beautiful. I'm so honoured to be able to be part of it all. And I do think about a lot of the women that are part of this group that they share with me, and they say, but I just want to feel like that's true for them. They want to feel like they can put themselves first. But as mothers that are, you know, have a lot on their plate in terms of, but I've got to do this and I've got to cook the food, and I don't have a second to myself to go, I am first. What would you say to them?
I hear you, sister. But the solution resides in that desire to put yourself first. And so this is something where I'm going to invite you to reflect on, because it's not a solution. I can't say to you, okay, well, get rid of this, or get a cleaner, or do this or do that, because every person has a unique situation with their own sort of resources and, you know, support available to them. So it's not in the black and white strategy. But how we can tap into what needs to happen is by being, like, really, first of all, truly giving ourselves permission, reinforcing why this is important. And it's not like I have to give myself love first, and it's like I get to. And the power of I get to is that you start to witness how life starts to flow better, how your children become calmer, how, if you've got a child with special needs, which I've had that experience, like being in the classroom of Jarvis, my eldest, falling unexpectedly unwell, suddenly overnight, losing the ability to speak, couldn't walk more than 10 meters. Like, oh my gosh, I completely get that whole thing. I've got to fix him. I've got to do all the things. And, you know, because I lost myself for 2 years trying to cure him. And finally, in this moment of surrender, I realized how connected we are. And that the thing that's going to really support him is me supporting myself. And in that moment, I released all the grief, all that energy, all that heartache, all that guilt. Like, I thought, I really blamed myself. I'd broken him. And just, and really, this is the felt sense. This is the heart work. This is what we've been talking about. And really just like honoring myself in that moment. And it was this moment so that I could breathe again. 3 days later, we got the solution, and he is now excelling at school. He's speaking. Like, we got told he wouldn't be able to speak. 95% chance he'd have a severe stutter for the rest of his life. And he is so eloquent. He's so beautiful. He is such a shining light. And so for me, I'm unwavering. I'm unwavering in the absolute importance. I can feel the emotion there. The absolute importance of mum mums taking care of themselves, because I've lived it. I've seen the miracle of healing. I've seen the beauty of surrender. Like, not just me, with my clients, you know, our children want us, the real us. They need that. And so sometimes it's natural to get caught up in the transaction of life, the daily things, the routines, because we're in a survival state. So what we do is we look for threats. That's what happens. But the solution isn't out there. It's not there. So when you finally make that decision, like, oh my God, I gotta figure out how to put myself first. Because it's not just about saying yes. It's about saying yes and not feeling guilty. It's not just about getting that support or this plan, because it's what works best for you and your family at any cycle of life, because we move through different seasons in life. So the solution is always going to be, you know the solution, you know what's going to happen so that you have more space in your relationship, in your life, to slow down, to enjoy life. And then the way you find that is by this essence work, this energy work. And it's not, I wish I could say it's this thing, but it is this thing here. You connect with you, because that's going to guide you for the rest of your life as you navigate your children who change and grow. And having teenagers is different to having toddlers, is different to having babies. And so you're the one who will know what's best for them, what each child needs, and what's required for your family, and what you need, and how to bring you and your partner back together in this level of intimacy and connection, working together as a team. So it's, again, the energy, mindset, heart set, soul set, this work, pouring love into yourself, is the way that then the strategy is born. And it's so hard because we want to know step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But if you're in a state of stress and depletion and you're like, what's the solution? Will you see the solution? No, because our brain becomes very stupid when we're stressed out. We shut off all the solution-focused, creative thinking centers of the brain. We can only see what doesn't work. You might talk to a girlfriend, right, Nicole, and be like, I'm sure there's a solution. There's nothing. I've thought of it all, So the only way we can find a solution is by shifting how we feel. Then all of a sudden, I've walked away from something and come back and there's no problem because I just feel differently about it. So too with our life. So it's this sense of I have to I get to. And it's a process. It's something we learn. It's something that we then just become unwavering with, I get to pour love into myself. I get to take care of myself because it's actually what my kids want. And we can then compromise a little bit in the messy parts of life. We can just feel more safe and held. It's let life be messy. Let life be it's a perfect life is full of messy times. Let it, because it can be beautiful based on how you're navigating it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And thank you, because your story, there's so much. I mean, I got quite emotional in that story. I could feel the energy of that. And I think there's a lot of mothers, and not just mothers, but also carers, people who have elderly parents that they're looking after. And I know that the struggle is real, and to be able to not just allow them to have the permission, but to say, you know what, I get to. I love that. That is so powerful. So thank you so, so much for sharing that. It was beautiful.
You're so welcome. Yeah.
Okay. So Fee, I think we'll just have a little quick fire round now, just some fun questions. So what is your favorite book? And it can be of all time or just right now.
Oh, the first that comes to mind is The Autobiography of a Yogi. This is a book that would choose you. It's one that I first started to read, and I got maybe a quarter of a chapter through, and I was like, oh my gosh. But when it calls you, and it is just mind-blowing. And it's so significant to me because I have a guru in India and waking up to the miraculousness of life. So it really sings to me that way.
Oh, very nice. I actually put it down after the first chapter and then picked it back up again and put it down, and I was much the same. I was like, put it away.
When I read it for the third time, I found myself, I was in LA driving in a Uber to Encinitas, and I was in the last chapter, and the last chapter is called The Hermitage in Encinitas. And I was like, what? I found myself finishing this book, and the next day I was in Paramahamsa Yogananda's home, down on the ground, crying, of course, because of the significance of this experience. So when it calls you, and I get if it doesn't call you, but it is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. What would you like to unlearn?
What would I like to unlearn? I would, oh gosh. Okay, what I'm unlearning right now is so much. What could I choose? I feel like around this sense of abundance, honoring, like really embodying on a deeper level that actually universal love is my source of abundance. So the first time that I ever went to India, I had this experience of walking around what was called the Star Path there. And it's very funny because I was like, all right, this is what I want. Number one, I want that Amma, universal love, be the source of my security, meaning I have trust and faith that everything's taken care of and I'm open to the most expanding abundance ever. Number two, can I please have a house in Clifton Hill? Please, 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 please. And number three, I'd like to have an audience with beloved Sri Shakti Amma. Hilarious, right? Like, I want this to be unwavering, but can you also give me a home? So for me, I feel like it's this beautiful evolution, like let like totally be held that universal love is taking care. So unlearning that I'm the doer, that this is the source of my abundance, this is the source of my healing, like those pills, that thing, it's like actually really aligning with more than that. We got there. It was a big one.
So what's the best advice about happiness you've ever been given?
Well, it's what I shared really, is that there is grace in making other people happy. But I feel like for me, the refinement of that is like, what is good for me is good for you, is good for us. So we can do things to support other people to be happy because it's the source of our joy, but it's how we do it that's most important. We can do it from a place of resentment, like I gotta do this to make you happy, or we do it because I'm so full and it's just naturally, I wanna help you, I wanna do this, you know. So for me, it's that understanding of the difference between happiness and joy that we spoke about.
Beautiful. If you had a fairy wand and you could wave that and make some magic, what would you change about the world?
Oh my gosh, this is what the whole Bliss Sisterhood is about, my friend. I'm doing it. I'm just not like wishing one day. It is honestly helping women to stop and realize we get to pour love into ourselves, and that is what everyone needs. Like, women are the glue that hold so much together. And this is not just an exclusion of men, because some men are just, my husband's phenomenal. I've got so many phenomenal men, but obviously my focus is on women, okay? So just as a side note. But, you know, I just feel so much change, and the ripple effect is just phenomenal when women do this for themselves. I remember hearing the statistic as to why Care Australia, you know, a charity, focus on women. And they say the reason is when you raise a woman, they bring 6 or 7 with them. And to me, I see that. I feel like what is needed, women have big hearts and have the capacity to be incredibly compassionate, loving, strong. Have you ever felt the Durga energy, the strength of women, like threaten a child and oh my God, you'll see the mama bear come up. And I think that's what this, like that is Narayani. My business is called Narayani Wellness. It is this essence of strength, wisdom, and abundance, wealth. That is this energy that I truly believe is what is required in the world right now. So it's about helping women to pour that into themselves so they can get tapped into this strength, this wisdom, this wealth, and be that in the world. Because as we do it for ourselves, you know, our children elevate, our partners elevate, our careers, everyone in our world elevates. because we become that. So yeah.
So nice. And one tip for our listeners to help bring more happiness into their life, something practical.
So many of us have heard about the benefits of gratitude, and I'm a big advocate of gratitude. But my tip is to not just, first of all, there's science behind it, so I'm going to start with that. If we do a gratitude practice every day for 3 weeks, okay, in 3 months down the track, we can scan your brain and still see notable brain changes. 3 months down the track, all you've done is 3 weeks of gratitude practice, you change your brain and it's sustainable. It's still there 3 months down the track. Holy smokes, this is incredible. Are we all doing a gratitude practice right now? Why not? Now, most women will be like, oh yeah, I'm a grateful person. I think grateful thoughts. I've done gratitude. There is a difference between thinking grateful thoughts and actually feeling gratitude. And the magic and the essence of change and the transformation comes in feeling grateful. And if you don't know what that is, then I'm going to invite you to really be with that. Ask the questions. Change happens when we ask specific questions. I wonder what it would feel like. I wonder what it would feel like to actually feel very, very grateful. Not just think it, but feel it. And then if you're like, yeah, I don't know, then you can connect to something. Like, you may not look around life and be like, it's really hard for me to feel grateful for what's happening. Have you seen my life, Dr. Fee? It's a bit of a, I don't know if I can say this, shit show, but it's a bit of a shit show right now. Okay, power of gratitude. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So sweetheart, connect to the essence of when you have felt gratitude. It could be that moment where you've picked up a little puppy and it's just so cute and they lick you and then, oh my God, you're just melting. You're so, your heart's so full of gratitude for this gorgeous little thing. Pat a cat. Like, self-care can be that moment of like, oh my gosh, you know? And so to me, that's the tip. Like, yes, I could go on about energy work and breath and be present and all of that, but recognizing there's a difference between thinking and feeling is everything, because that's where the magic resides.
Gosh, that's so wonderful. You actually brought back a time when I was walking down the street and I literally lost my knees and fell to the floor with just tears of gratitude. And I was overwhelmed with that. Thank you for my life. Thank you. And there was, you know, that just that beauty. And oh gosh, if everyone could just feel
my God,
the power of that. Yeah.
See, that's joy. That's within us. That's within us. But we lose that because of our humanness. It's not wrong. This is the process. This is the process. We got to just realize that all the to-do lists and the busyness of life and the competing priorities and being a mum juggling all the things, that's life. That's our human experience. Let's not fight it. Let's not make it wrong. Make it a part of the process so that we can come back and course correct to that experience of joy, which is this gratitude on your knees and just like, oh my gosh, this is a profound life, you know?
That it is. Thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like we have had profound conversations here and profound wisdom and profound energy and profound love. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me and holding the space and creating this space, because it's sacred, you know, it allows this deeper sense of conversation. And yes, so wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Wow, wasn't that juicy? Gosh, absolutely so rich. So here's the takeaways. Understanding the spectrum of emotions is likened to that of a set of colourful pencils, each representing different emotions. Happiness is just one colour on this spectrum, and it's crucial to recognise and embrace the full range of emotions, including sadness and grief. Distinguishing between happiness and joy. Happiness is described as a transient emotion, often linked to external circumstances and getting what we want. On the other hand, joy is portrayed as a deeper essence within us that remains constant regardless of external events and can be accessed through connecting with our blissful self, contributing to others' happiness as a source of joy. A suggested pathway to joy is by contributing to the happiness of others. Acts of kindness, love, and bringing joy to others can serve as a source of joy for oneself, highlighting the interconnectedness of individual and collective well-being. The power of emotional healing. Emotional healing is presented as a powerful aspect of the journey toward well-being. Shifting one's emotional state is seen as a key to breaking free from thought, feeling loops and fostering a more profound and sustainable change. Cultivating wisdom through experience. Wisdom is cultivated through lived experiences and the application of principles. While science and logical understanding play a role, true wisdom is gained through embodying and experientially applying transformative concepts. The integration of science and spirituality is encouraged, opening the doorway to a deeper understanding of oneself and life's purpose. Thanks again for listening and joining us on this journey inwards. Please do share this podcast. I'm sure one of your friends needs to hear this message, so please pass it forward. And remember, you are loved and you are worthy. Till next time, bye.